Okay, welcome everybody to Mastering Lightning Community Development. Good morning. Hope you had a good night last night. We're definitely pretty excited to give this session to you today. My name is Mike Katolka. I work with CRM Science. We are a consultancy firm. We're mostly developers and been working on the platform about 8 years. To you, Yad.
Hey, I'm Yad. I also work for CRM Science, been on a platform for 5 and change years. Live in Houston, probably know me from various Texas cities, see some familiar faces, so that's all.
Yeah. Hi, this is Vishwa. I'm lead developer in Salesforce Community Cloud, and I'm from India.
All right, so when we were planning this session, we had trouble. There's so much content in the Community Cloud. So we really tried to think about your goals. The goals are how to get started with Community Cloud, how to develop some slick components, and then how to understand how to move the components around and get ready for deployment. So let's go into our agenda here. Of course, before agenda are forward-looking statements. So don't make purchasing decisions based on things that you may see here for the future. Just base it on existing features. Now to the agenda. Okay, we're going to talk about the overview of the Community Cloud. We're going to dive into the new workspaces, take a look at Community Builder, and then the standard and custom components. So for an overview, we have Connect. Basically means that employees, partners, and customers are able to connect into the community. And it can be any combination. You can include your internal staff as well. So that's a pretty big reason why you would build a Lightning community. It's personalizable, if that's a word. You can brand it to your company image, logos. You can go super custom, develop a completely custom theme, or just use the out-of-the-box layouts. And then it's mobile ready, so it works for all different devices. It's integrated with your org, so you can surface all the data that's inside your org to the front user. So, and it depends on licensing sometimes, but that's really, really key. That's one of the major reasons why you'd want to use a Lightning community as opposed to a WordPress website. Something that's completely separate from the org. It's going to take a lot of work to get data to show through a different website. It's secure, so the same security stack that you use within Salesforce is going to drive this. There's some extra goodies, and there's another session that you can go to actually while at Dreamforce about security. It's moderated, so we're going to go in a little bit into the community moderation, which is tracking user adoption and content, and just making sure that people talking in chat are saying the right things and not being too bad. Templates are available. We're going to show you some templates. And chatter is really, really core to the engagement of the Community Cloud. So we're going to go ahead into a demo. We're going to do 2 different parts. We've got the out-of-the-box Napili template, which is a customer service template. We're going to show you that and kind of give you a high-level overview of how to use the builder. And then we'll show you what it took to build something very real, which is in a production environment, in use by many people at Axe Retirement Community. And so we'll go through that a little bit later. So let's switch over to basically creating a new community. So in the setup menu, to create a community, you're going to be on this page. Just search for communities. You've got that button right there. You would click that, and you'd be presented with this screen here where you can scroll up and down to look at different templates that are available. For this session, we're just going to go ahead and create this customer service Napili template. Basically, look at features, see if it works for your use case, and if you're not sure, just go ahead and create it. It's going to take a few seconds. So let's go ahead and create this. We're just going to make up a name here. That's the visual name that you would see, and then you optionally can put a suffix to the URL. If you have 100 communities, you're going to need to have at least 99 different suffixes for that. So when you click Create, you will land in the community workspaces. And at this point, this was going to take over and run through workspaces.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
So community workspaces. So community workspaces are one-stop solution for administrating, managing, and monitoring your community for success. Community admins and managers, they use this tool to configure more data, to manage their content, and also to monitor the activities. Let's see what this tool offers. So if you see, there are some tiles which are categorized based on the type of the settings you are looking for. So this is mainly for a management tool. And there are some quick links and some release notes as well, so that you know what are the latest features, and some help and training for you to get up and running. Let's go each tile one by one. Moderation. So this tile we can use to monitor posts and communities, and also we can create rules on the content so that you can better moderate the community. Like for example, you can look for rude words, or you can look for something which is happening bad in the community. And these days, like, moderation is very crucial for a community success, right? And next one is content targeting. So here you can recommend resources targeting set of audiences. For example, you can encourage your users to watch videos, sign up for event, look for news, and all. You can also create topics to better manage your content. That means like you can create something like feature topics or navigation topic, so that you can let the users find their relevant answers at one place. Dashboards. Dashboards help you monitor and get the overall success of your community. So you can check your health of the community by looking into various reports and dashboards it provides. And you can also engage more with the customers by looking their activities and helping to give them some suggestions. CMS Connect. CMS Connect is a way wherein you can bring your CMS sources which are external into your Salesforce community. Like if you have something like banners, headers, and footers in your external CMS repositories, you can get them right into the communities without coding or without doing any configuration, so that you can make the consistent look and feel over different products. And there are many other administration settings which are under this tile. Let's click on this tile, which takes you to a page where it shows different settings. Like you can activate a community by clicking on this button, which will enable the community for your end users. You can also change the type of the template once a community is created. There are other settings like members. Like this is the place where you can configure which sort of profiles this community has access to. You can specify internal and external profiles as well. There are some login and registration settings wherein you can specify the login logo, footer text, and some login related pages. Like if you want to have your own custom login page, you can configure those login, registration, and password pages. And you can also have even email settings under the email link, wherein you can specify the email address and also the from name. And if you want to have your customized templates for welcoming new members, then you can configure those things as well here. So you can choose the template, you can create the templates and save it here. To go back to the community workspace, you can click on the top left link and select community workspaces. You will be taken to the original page. So if you see, I have skipped the most important and crucial thing for a community, which is builder. So on clicking this, it will take to a page which looks like this. So what is the community builder? Community builder is nothing but like a WYSIWYG editor or designer, where you can style and brand your community, customize your pages, add and remove components, and you can manage the whole look and feel of the community. And it offers many options. So let's see what this tool offers. At the end, community is nothing but a web application, right? Like it's a portal or web application which contains web pages. So we have something called Panel Manager. Click on the top left, which shows all the pages which are in the community. So this encapsulates many pages and its properties. If you look for the default created community, there are many out-of-the-box pages like home, error, detail, and case detail, and group-related pages, and also some generic record pages. So these are the out-of-the-box pages which come while creating a community. You can click on this three little icon, wherein you can look into the page properties. For example, you know like what is the title of this page, what is its URL, whether this page is accessible without login or not, and you can specify the layout, the content layout of the page. You can look into the page by clicking on the page name, which directs to this. For example, currently I'm the home page, and this is how it looks. You can preview the page. So this is the page. If you see, this has already populated with so much data or the UI elements. So how is it possible? You can click and see each UI element and is nothing but a component. So what is a component? Component, think it's like a UI widget, like it contains some self-executable code which is embedded as a component given it to you. Think like that represents a particular section of UI on your web page. And you can click on this little icon, components, which shows different types of components which are given out of the box for developing a community. And all these components are categorized by group. If you see content-related components like headline, HTML editor, tabs are under content section, and all feeds-related components are under feed section, similarly files. So you can use these components to develop the way you want, the web pages and the way you want to look it. You can also select each component, and if you want, you can configure this to meet your needs, and depending on the type of the component, you have more options to see. And let's say I don't like this component, you can go ahead and remove. That's it, and you can look at preview. So this looks like after making your changes. And to have more customized experience, if you want, you can create more pages. So click on the panel manager and select new page, which gives you two options, like standard page and object pages. Standard page is like you are going to create a new blank page with the type of the layout you have specified. And object pages lets you expose the Salesforce object inside the community. For example, if you want to have accounts and your customer objects, you can go and select here, and you can click create, and this automatically creates 3 out-of-the-box pages, like a detailed page, the list page, its object home, and the rated list pages. And all the default record components are embedded in it by default for you. Let's go and create a standard page, okay? And I can select the layout of the page, like I can say whether it's a full width column or a 2 column, like full width is the content occupies the whole width of the page, and 2 columns divides the page into 3 portions, and left hand side takes 1 portion for 1:2, and it takes 2 portions for 2:1 ratio. Select the content and give it a name to that, and click create. The moment you click create, a page gets created in the background, and it shows the layout like this. So you can use the component palette, and you can drop what are the components you want. For example, I want to have files component, which shows all the files which are there in my link. I can drag and drop, and the wireframe shows wherever you want to drop the page depending on the layout of the page. And I can drop it here, and this is how the page looks. But see, like how the users can navigate to this page. So you can create a navigation menu, give a name to it, and select the page which you have created. So before selecting the page, first you need to publish the community, so that newly created page gets available to the navigation menu. Okay, here we go. Demo page. See, my demo page is populated, and you can say click publish and publish. Now you'll get a navigation menu item added, and this is how your end users can go and navigate to these pages. Next one is branding. So branding is a very cool feature in Community Builder through which you can style and change the overall look and feel of the community. For example, I don't want this blue and gray background, and I want to style it further. So click on this branding palette, and let's say I want to change the buttons. Click on the action link, select the red theme. That's it. And you can also change the navigation menu to better look red. And let me change the text color to look a little bit green. And yep. And you can also specify your fonts. You can change the header fonts and the primary fonts, and you can style it the way you want. So let's go and see how the home page is looking. Okay, looks like I'm very bad UX designer, like red and green. Yeah, you can follow your UX designers. And this is how you can make and style your community. So back to the builder. And there is one more thing called page structure, which lets you see the overall page. Like after your configurations and adding components, removing it, you can go and see what my page looks like. You can click on the components, you can see its properties, and if you want, you can delete them. There are many other settings which are hidden under this settings tab, through which you can do more configuration. For example, you can click on the general, which gives about the title of the community and the template which you're using. And also, you can say whether this community can be accessible public or not. That means you can make the community accessible to people without login as well. But to make sure that to make it happen, the pages also should be public. And you can also visit the guest user profile so that you can better access and give permissions to your guest users. So you can manage all this stuff by clicking on this link. And there's something called theme. Okay, so theme is like it is the one which controls the overall appearance of the page. Think theme like a outer shell. For example, till now we are configuring the page content, but the theme consists of the header part, the navigation menu, the profile, search, and the footer. So if you see whatever the page you visit, the theme is same. Only the content of the page changes. But if you want to have a different theme, you can create a custom theme layout here and assign it to the pages so that whenever you click that page, the overall theme changes, the header, footer, and navigation menu, and other things which you configured, you get that one. And there is some advanced settings like you can enable your Google Analytics here to better track your page views. You can also edit your header markup so that if you want to add any HTML meta tags, for example, your fav icon or your search engine optimization, you can do all these things here with some restrictions. And like this is updates area where you get the updates for your version. Like whenever we publish any new upgrades for the template, you'll get those things here. Please do update. And the last one is developer. So this is the place where you can export your community as a solution. That means you can export your configured customizations, your pages, components, and all. You can create a managed package out of it, and you can distribute it via internally or externally just to avoid doing rework. Yeah, so let's talk more about custom components. I will take over from here.
Testing? All right. Thanks, Vishwa. Appreciate it. Guys, I have two things to really tell you, and we're about halfway through, a little bit, probably got a little bit less than that. The most important lesson that I'm going to give you has nothing to do with Lightning component development, which is what I'm supposed to talk about. I want to talk about Community Builder as well. So Vishwa brought up Community Builder as a tool in Salesforce, but I want to emphasize this is Community Builder. You have a bunch of strangers next to you now, but I'm about to do the raising hands exercise, so I really hope you guys look around, take a moment, introduce yourselves to each other. So first, how many of you guys have done Lightning component development? Raise your hands higher. Take a look around. Everybody else needs to meet you. Talk to each other. I got 10 minutes or less now to even talk about Lightning component development. Do you think I'm really going to get through much? Probably not. This whole thing relies on the connections we make with each other to go through the depth of it. I'm going to cover a few highlights about how to do it, but it's all on you to meet each other and make it happen. I think all of us got our start that way. We read documentation, but then it was the users groups we were involved in. It was the Dreamforce. It was the connections with each other. So now I'll talk about Lightning component development. Could you show me around Dev Console?
Right there, yeah.
Thank you. So for those of you who've never done this before, I'm just going to show the Dev Console. You have a lot of different options on what you use for an IDE. I'm sure you've seen that term thrown around, Sublime, Maven's Mate, Illuminated Cloud. You've got a lot of options. They're all great. Developer Console lets you just do it in the browser. If you're using somebody else's computer, just throw that on. So that's where I am right now. If you want to make a new component, it's pretty easy. File, New, Lightning component, follow a few steps, whatever. This is the result. So I'm going to show you a really simple component that does really a few simple things, but they're broad. It's going to illustrate to you the basic design pattern of Lightning. Some of you might come from a more Visualforce background. Some of you might come from a non-Salesforce development background. Some of you might be doing development already, and some of you, the balance, haven't done any of this. So this is your time to really become a friend of JavaScript. There's a lot of JavaScript going around here. It's really not as hard as you think. We're not building some crazy apps or anything. We just want different compartmentalized pieces to talk to each other. That's going to be the recurring trend here. So if you look to the right, we see component, controller, helper, style, various other things. And the thing about that is we've allowed in Lightning development the ability to kind of compartmentalize different pieces of your code that serve different functions. So when you look at component, what we're seeing is really the body, what you would see in Visualforce, the XML tags that are defined as aura. You'd see some HTML sprinkled in there. You'd see various things that would be interactable, things that you could actually touch on the page. Then you have the controller, which does some of the work. Looks kind of scary. Got some parentheses around there, some functions, and then some helpers doing the heavy lifting. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like in the org. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this ugly green thing and put something even uglier that I developed on. What did I call it? Hello name. It's a creative name. Oh, it's still green. Oh. All right. I was not expecting that. So I guess it's even better than I thought. So hello person, right? Really anticlimactic. You put in some hard-coded text there to say hello to your user. That's not very nice. So what I want to show you first is how you might get the user's name. You might see in the top right, it's not really legible, but our username is Mike Science, perhaps. So we're going to try to get that there from our user. So if you look at the code, you see right away the hello person, right? So first part, let's see what it could be. Get rid of that nonsense. So what am I looking at? Hello, and then something with username in it. As you can guess, variables are named appropriately. What we have here is an attribute. The component has attributes. These are basically the variables that you would see, the properties that we're going to be able to dictate what shows up where and control the overall experience from that standpoint, keep things dynamic. So I'm basically saying use this attribute. You're going to notice v dot and c dot. V dot refers to these things that are at the component level attributes, whereas c dot, I'll show you in a second what that does. So right now, should be pretty clear, I hope. We're taking username and putting it there. But where does it even come from? So another aspect to this is event handlers. And so I kind of put them at the top. I tend to do that for myself too. You're going to have a limited number of event handlers. Think of it like something happens. You want it to respond to that thing that happens. There's a whole host of them you can choose. One of them is initialize, also known as init. So the name is init. This is standard. You'd use that. This action that gets called is custom. So as you can see, the C dot notation stands for controller in this case. You're going to go to the controller. And remember, we're talking about Lightning component development, so this is in your Lightning bundle, the controller, not the Apex controller yet. Do init. Doesn't do much, right? It just says helper something. That's the reality of this. The controller should be kind of like the routing mechanism. It should be a little clearinghouse for the messages. Keeps things organized, lets you kind of wire things the way you want. So you imagine that. You've got a bunch of properties that get wired together kind of in a bundle, keeps it organized for you, and then the actual work is going to get done in the helper. That can be reusable. Helper methods can call each other. You can call multiple helper methods from the controller. It's a good separation of concerns that lets you actually keep things in an organized way. And that's really what you're going to see in this bundle, a lot of organization. So load data is what I want to do on initialize. Pretty standard. I'm naming this myself. You can call it whatever you want. In the helper, load data simply consists of a mechanism to talk to Apex. And that's one very important difference between this and Visualforce. You're only going to want to talk to Apex for a handful of things. Getting data, setting data. Don't think about a view state if you come from that background. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. You're not going to have this live connection between Apex and your component. It's going to do a lot of the work within the component and then talk to Apex when necessary. Why? Keeps it really fast. When we want to change things on the page, when we want live updates, when we want to really show the dynamic abilities of this, we don't want to have to send a message to the server. I mean, the way I'm talking about it surely indicates how slow that process is. This happens fast. You got everything on the controller, on the component side, client side, locally, snappy. So in this case, I do need to go get that data. I need to go get that username. So you can look up this pattern on Trailhead. Documents, basically it's an action. We enqueue actions. So this actually does, this time, refer to my Apex controller. So C in this context is going to reach into Apex. It's very simple. You can have this class do all sorts of things. Perhaps it supports a different page of yours. But this method has to be Aura enabled. Really, there's only two things to remember. It needs to be Aura enabled, it needs to be static. Static, you're not instantiating a class. You're just saying, hey, give me that. So what's it going to do? Nothing really, just returning userinfo.getName. It's a pretty standard property. And that's all. So that connection is basically sending the wire of that attribute down into Apex, pulling the data back up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that because I deleted the other thing. Go back to Community Builder, go and reload it. And you see, hello, Mike Science. So if I logged in as Vishva, I would see his name. If I logged in as me, I'd see my name. And that's what your users would come to expect. They don't want to see standard boilerplate stuff. They want a personalized experience, which is another important theme of the work that we do. So probably got next to no time left, so I'll really rush through these last more interesting parts. So I wanted to just show you a couple other things, events, and just how JavaScript comes into play in all of this. Like what does it do? You have the option to mix in JavaScript to a great degree wherever you want. You're not going to be able to manipulate the DOM the way that you would otherwise. But you are going to be able to do simple functions. In this case, I'm going to have a button that just logs something, and I'm going to have an event and a nested component that does something similar. So the button, confirm button, let's uncomment that. So the first button is just going to log. This is very important. Hopefully you spend some time looking into the developer tools, developer console. There's also a Lightning debug tool that you should download and use. So log is simply going to log a message when it works, which it doesn't. Haphazards of having a live demo. But,
I think you're filtering for errors only.
Good point. Ironic that filtering for an error caused an error, but so here, you got 4, this is not the log you're looking for. Clearly I wasn't looking hard enough for it, thank you very much. So let's make 4 more. So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see this kind of interwoven ability of Lightning components to do what you kind of expect it to do in a normal context. As you can guess, I'm routing things through the controller, as always. In this simple case, it might look like too much, but trust me, when you write a lot of code, it helps a lot. Log something, just a simple one-liner, console log, standard JavaScript function. Now, we've got to log something else. It's going to follow the same pattern, except one of the things, as I mentioned, we want to really compartmentalize a lot of things. So oftentimes you have reusable pieces of code, things that you're going to see 5 times on the page. Maybe it gets repeated and tiled. Do you really want to write 5 pieces of the same code? Usually not. Or maybe there's simply a really big piece of stuff that's going to be static. You're not going to change it much. Why not wrap it into its own component and put it there just to make things easier to deal with? That's the design principle behind having nested components. So in this case, it's very simple. You saw that button. This fire and event button is in that nested component. I can prove it to you if you don't believe me. So what you've got here is really simple. You've got an attribute in that component, just like that username attribute, and you've got an event. Look up events. That's the heart of all this. How do things talk to each other? And the button. The button's just going to fire the event. Look at the controller. This is the notation for firing an event. Gets the event. Look into this deeply later. I'm going to rush through it. Just fires the event, gets the identity property, and it's going to send it back up. So what we would expect is me to remember what I'm looking for. There we go. So again, all of that I just showed you is wrapped inside that component. When I press that button, I'm going to see it go trigger an event called the hello name event, for which we have a handler on a different component. And that is the mechanism for talking to each other. One component is going to talk up through an event. So this handler has a controller action that it's going to summon next. Log something else. guess what? It's going to log something else. If I fire an event, this is the log you were looking for. So again, look around, talk to each other, stop those people leaving the room and get them to introduce themselves. And yeah, right now we're going to move into an awesome demo of the power of all this. I won't have time anymore to go through the component there. Mike, take it away.
Thank you. Yep, I got this here. All right. Very good, Yad. So let's see. We are going to get back to settings here. Okay. So let's go into a real life scenario. This MyX Life portal here. We'll go into the builder. So ACTS Retirement is a continuing care retirement community. That means everything from independent care, independent living, to supported living. They have 22 communities. When I say community, I mean a facility, a walled-in property, up and down the east coast of the United States. And so they wanted to create an engaging environment for their residents. They have 9,000 residents, a place to log in, to communicate with each other, to schedule events, manage their groups, like golf outings and whatnot, and also a place to enter requests. Requests are, my light bulb is out in my kitchen, I need some help. So this is all contained in one environment. As you can see, we started out with the Napili template. It's still the basic layout like we saw before. We've just got a different background image, got some different colors and logo. But we really wanted to use and at least start out in this first phase that we're in with them, just using all the standard features that we possibly could. We've got everything enabled for chatter. We've got the new notifications button working here, which is really pretty powerful. Got standard navigation and a lot of standard components like these tab controls here. So on this home page, we have a custom lightning component. This says Mike, so this is just like Yad's example with some tagline text so you can modify what's being displayed there. On the tabbed component, this is basically the chatter feed. This is a place where you can post an update, and then it's on the feed. Anybody that's following this user is going to get a notification that I said something. Anything that I follow is in this list here. My messages, this is a standard feature. It's basically private messaging. You can send to multiple people and have like a group of people within a private message. Nice, powerful feature. My groups, these are chatter groups. And so basically any group that I'm a part of would be here. And then, so let's switch to viewing this a different way. So right now we're in the builder, we're in preview mode, but if you notice the URL never changes. The URL, we're in a separate context. We're going to change to view it for real, which is through this link right here. And now we're going to see the URL is actually the legitimate URL. What works better here are different components like Visualforce components and more advanced redirect features that you may have. That's why I switched over, because I know all the tabs are going to work properly. So the first tab here, this is chatter topics. This is a way to organize your data. Featured, we've got standard topic navigation here. If I drill down to a specific topic here, we can see the image at the top change. That's all standard built into the community management. We've got some articles here. These are knowledge articles managed on the back end of Salesforce that are surfaced through the community settings. So let's switch over to groups. Groups are chatter groups as well. As you see, we've just got a basic list of groups here. And when you open that, you've got pretty standard look and feel. Oops, let's go back. Go forward twice. There we go. We've got the chatter update. We've got some updates here. Actually, a new feature that just came out in Winter 18 is the ability to pin. Pin makes the post stay at the top forever. You can only do one pin per group. Just wanted to point that out. You can link to any record in your database. We linked this group to a community so that when we go to a community page, which I'll show through here, go down to this community. This is an S-object page. This is like this what we're showing, an object page. We overrode it with a lot of Lightning components. but we were just talking about groups. So chatter groups are linked. If we scroll through here, you'll see a listing of groups right there. And overall, this is, we've got a bunch of different custom components. Here we have a custom iframe lightning component, another custom iframe lightning component. We've got a custom image component here pulling images from content with a light box that pops up so they can really read the menu, so it's nice and easy to read for them. So I just wanted to kind of go through high level, like what's possible, what was needed in this community. Two more tabs. These are both using Visualforce component. This is a draggable component that you drop on. It's called Visualforce component. You change the page. You've got a whole list of Visualforce pages that are available. Switch the page, and it basically works. You may just have to work out the navigation, because the navigation is slightly different. So these are two Visualforce pages that are loading within Lightning. So it's pretty powerful. This is a, and if the Wi-Fi is working, you would see this page, but the pages are inside here. This is using Bootstrap, so it's very contained. So the All Communities tab, we actually wanted to go into the code of this, but we won't really need to, because we actually saw really good examples through what Yad was talking about there. But this is dynamically driven. The old version of this page was using a standard list view. And for residents, they want to see the images of the communities. We just took the list view out. We popped this Lightning community in, and now it's a much more pretty version of a listing page. Again, all dynamically driven data, including the images using content. So I think that is good. We are going to switch back to the presentation, and we're going to fly through these last slides here. Okay, so next steps. So there are a few trails that you can take a look at. There's some documentation. So take a picture of this if you want to check that out. We're also going to post slides on the chatter feed of the session, the Dreamforce session. And basically, this is the big Bible of how to use communities. That's really important. This is an App Exchange package. You want this for community management. Install that. It gets upgraded every release. And this is how to build templates. If you need a really, really unique look and feel, you start there. This is a brand new trail that just came out, maybe just came out for Dreamforce, but how to build a custom theme layout. Take a look at that. That's an hour and 35 minutes of your time, well worth it. These are all other Community Cloud sessions. I encourage you to take a picture of this. You won't get to our slides in time by the time we post it. So there's a lot of good sessions. We're doing this again, 4 p.m. on Friday. There's a lot of good stuff here. I'll give you a few more seconds to take a picture. And here's another session called Defend Your Castle. Just search that in Dreamforce or go to crmscience.com/Dreamforce. 2 more sessions on our same website. Whoops, did not mean to click the link. So there we go. So thank you all for this time. And we have a minute and a half for questions. Walk up to the microphone if you have a question here.
Hey, we'll be around to answer questions
we will
too,
be around.
So just find the guys with the lab coats and checkered shirts.
I'll put a different slide back up. Which one?
The session listing?
Yep.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Can I ask, is there a good source we can go to for open source versions of apps that people have developed?
Open source
components.
versions of apps that people have done.
Open source version of apps. App Exchange apps, unmanaged apps would be open source, right? Lightning component, if they're unmanaged. There might be something out on GitHub people have posted. I know there's definitely some Salesforce developers that post their content on GitHub. So it might be something to ask the community on Twitter. Probably get some good hits there.
But feel free to just go in there and just mess around yourself. That's the best way to learn.
I really wanted to use Napili, but it turns out I can't change anything about the header. Can you tell us a little bit how to do that? Is there a way?
Oh, actually, there's a new, in Winter 18, the header got an upgrade. So I think if you upgrade the Napili template, there's new features. Check out the release notes, and it's componentized.
Okay, so new features, can I move the stuff in the current header around?
I don't know if it's movable. but you can redesign your own header. If you know Lightning component development, you could do it through that.
You
Okay.
could also just get rid of it. So you can use normal CSS, hide it. There's also a blank template, so you have a few options.
Yeah, I didn't want it hanging around if I could use part of it.
I
Second
know.
question. The Maven's Mate guy had another baby, I guess. And
Joe Ferraro.
yeah,
Yes.
do you know if he's saying he quit for good? He never really quits for good, but do you know if anybody's picking that up?
I suspect not, because I got a new computer and I wanted to go download it, and all he gets that message. So I've been hearing good things about VS Code.
Yep.
So
Visual
yeah,
Studio Code, definitely a good contender at this point.
Illuminated Cloud.
Hi, what are the best practices for moving community changes from sandbox to production?
Vishva? I think you got your own mic.
Yeah. So in the last 2 releases, I think we have enabled communities in chain sets.
Okay.
So if you know like the best way to deploy communities is via metadata APIs, you can use your own metadata APIs or the tool which you are using. At the same time, if you know about chain sets are very easy to deploy. Like there's a point and click tools, right? So you can just go to chain set, select the network you want, and add. You should definitely add 2 objects, site and site.com. And apart from that, what are the dependencies you get inside the chain set, better to add all of them and then deploy it. And most of the configuration will work between sandbox and production, but you need to look out to the section where it has like some things which doesn't work. So those things you can manually configure it. But best go with chain set if you don't have much configurations.
And what about I have a classic mode, and so if I have to create a community in Lightning, do I have to upgrade the classic into Lightning, or can I
Nope.
have 2 separate environments?
They're completely separate.
Completely
So
separate.
Lightning
And-
community is actually, I would say 9 times out of 10, the first thing people go into Lightning on. Like they don't switch to Lightning Experience, but they have a use case for a community. They can go Lightning full bore with that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Can you explain a little bit the advantages of a Lightning component versus a Visualforce page? It seems like on the community, I can kind of get both to do what I want to do, get a list of data, but I noticed that I've kind of gone the Visualforce page route, and there's an awful lot of programming in JavaScript to get everything to look the way I want. Is there an advantage of going with a Lightning component
Yeah.
instead?
Yes. So there are lots of advantages. First of all, like anti-Salesforce is moving towards Lightning. So like you'll get more and more features, more and more out-of-the-box components, and more components on App Exchange, everything on Lightning. And the advantages of going to Lightning is like you will be in the best standards, the latest HTML and CSS3 standards,
There you can-
and it will be fast,
You need to-
and it is mobile responsive. Like what are the components you develop, you can easily make them mobile responsive, and the out-of-the-box components are already mobile and tab responsive, which is not the case with Visualforce. Yeah, there are a little bit gaps here and there, like Lightning is getting more and more features as and when we release more releases, but like this is the way that the whole company is looking forward.
Okay. For example, that button you had, was that something you styled there, or is that automatically styled that way?
Automatic.
as
We had a
part
class.
Automatically
Let's,
styled.
can I talk to you guys afterwards? I think we got to wrap up, so yeah, just stick around. We'll answer everything.